remember all of the negative publicity and all of the bad stories that supposedly was dropping the draft stock of CJ Stroud. Remember the cognition test scores were leaked, and he had a really low I think it was S2 cognition test, whatever they called it. His cognition score was really low. I remember they kept calling him he's a system quarterback, system QB. He's not going to work outside that system unless he's in the perfect system. You basically got to take Ryan Day's system to the NFL. It's the only way it's going to work with CJ Stroud. I remember the talk about him having elite wide receiver talent around him at Ohio State, and unless you're going to surround him with elite wide receiver talent like he had at Ohio State, it's not really going to work. His transition to the NFL is going to be tough. There's just a lot of negativity. We couldn't find out where it's coming from. It's like, man, who is right now motivated, and what is their incentive to try to drop the draft stock of CJ Stroud? I guess the conspiracy theory is it possible, now watching CJ Stroud play, and we'll get to some of his kind of achievements so far through the first 4 games, which are really extraordinary. Is it possible that the Texans along with David Mulligetta, who I believe is his agent, who I call the Johnny Cochran of NFL agents, because he got Deshaun Watson that fully guaranteed deal, even with multiple lawsuits against him of sexual misconduct. But anyway, I digress. Is it possible, that the Texans and David Mulligetta maybe working together, they were the ones who were putting out all of this negativity and all these negative reports about CJ Stroud and his skill set, just so they could drop his stock enough so that the Panthers would not draft him, wouldn't even consider him, and that they would go with Bryce Young, and that the Texans would get their guy? We still don't know where the negative reports were coming from, and obviously they were not, well informed. Like, the guy is balling right now out of control.
Yeah. And Cognition, again, if you watched him at Ohio State, he was the best pure passer in the draft. Exactly. His accuracy was ridiculous.
Yeah.
But, the cognition test has become popular. Brock Purdy aced that cognition test and those kind of things. But my read on that as a draft freak, it felt like, for me, Carolina settled on Bryce Young pretty early in the process. They had the 1 pick. That stuff on CJ came out pretty late in the process. It was kind of a couple weeks out to the draft. So I don't wonder if it wasn't teams behind Houston that wanted to scare Houston away from it. That would be kind of my thought.
Okay, that's another good theory.
Like the Colts and
I like that.
Teams right behind them
that really liked him.
To kind of which the Texans didn't do. Kind of scare them away from it. Maybe the Colts. Of course, the Combine is in Indianapolis. I don't know if that has any.
There you go. I like that. Now we're on the grassy knoll.
Because it felt like really early on that the Carolina Panthers traded up with the Bears to get that pick, and that they were in on Bryce Young. Now, there was always clickbait debates and what's going on. That Frank Reich wants this. And
remember that there's a video that came out. Remember, after them, they're working out CJ Stroud. I forget who the quarterback coach was. Former player. His name right now escapes me. And he basically, there's a video of him saying, "We're going to get you. Like, we're coming to get you. Like, we like you." So there was talk that they really, liked CJ Stroud too.
Yeah, and and had it been out, because it wasn't there. I mean, at the Combine, and then which is
it wasn't. Yeah,
there wasn't a lot of CJ Stroud smoke, and that really came because remember, the Combine is late February into early March. Mm-hmm. And then the draft isn't until late April. So you've got, from that point on, all the quarterback workouts and individual workouts and all that. And really in early April is when you started hearing the CJ Stroud stuff.
Yeah, someone was trying to drop his stock. We just don't know who was trying to drop his stock. I like your theory, though, that it was somebody out there was motivated to drop his stock, and I don't think it was the reports were authentic and genuine. I think it was the motivation that deliberately was just, no, let's put anything out there to drop his stock. Now, the cognition score is what the cognition score was, whatever. And I think it came out later that cognition score was not accurate, but nobody cared about that report.
Yeah, and then actually the founder, the guy who created the test, came out and said, but he didn't say any names.
They didn't grade it correctly.
And someone said that there was one player that had been up all night, and they asked him to take the test. It was a long day, whatever. End of the Combine deal, and whatever. All I know is if you watch CJ Stroud play for his first 4 games, cognition is not a problem. The ball comes in. One of the reasons they're not sacking him, and he's not the ball. He reads the field really quickly and makes extremely accurate throws and gets the ball out of his hand. We talk about Washington playing on Thursday night. When you watch Sam Howell play, it's not just his bad offensive line. He holds the ball too long.
One thing
CJ Stroud, and I've seen in his 4 games, and I've watched all of them, he gets rid of the football.
Yeah, he has a really good internal clock that it's natural. And maybe he speeds it up because of this offensive line. For those who have not been keeping up with the Texans have had the worst O-line in the NFL for the first 4 games of the season. Left guard Kendrick Green, he's now out with a torn meniscus. Left tackle, left guard Josh Jones, he missed 1 game with an injured hand. Left guard Kenyon Green was out for the year. He's got the shoulder injury. Right tackle Titus Howard on IR. He's got a hand injury. Drew Scruggs, the center, he was on IR with a hamstring injury. Laramie Tunsil missed 3 games with a knee. He might be coming back pretty soon. Quisenberry torn MCL, ACL, the center. They were just a mass unit on the O-line. And the assumption was that CJ Stroud was going to struggle as a result, and the opposite has happened. How about this? He has 970 yards in his last 3 weeks. That is the most in the NFL. He is 4th overall in passing yards with over 1,200 yards, behind the most injured offensive line in the NFL. 62.3% completion percentage, 6 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. We'll get back to that number. Now over 9 yards per attempt, a 100.6 passer rating. His average yards after the catch is even 6.1. His passer rating versus man coverage, 139.4. That is the best in the NFL of any quarterback. He also, joins Aaron Rodgers from Aaron Rodgers' 2020 season, Patrick Mahomes from 2018 to 2019, Drew Brees, Tom Brady, and Peyton Manning as the only quarterbacks in NFL history to throw for at least 1,200 yards in the first 4 games without an interception. He joins that rarefied group.
Golly.
He's the second most passing yards through his first 4 starts. Cam Newton is the only quarterback that's had more in NFL history. 3rd most pass attempts by a rookie without an interception. Dak Prescott was at 176 and Tua at 152. But, of course, next week he could end up surpassing that if he continues to be really responsible with the football. First quarterback ever to throw for 200-plus yards in his first 4 career games. And on 3rd and 4th down, how about this? He's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL on 3rd and 4th down. As we know, that's money time. Those are your money downs in the NFL. He's completing 69% of his passes on 3rd and 4th down for 490 yards and 4 touchdowns. And the Texans offense now ranks 10th in total offense, 4th in passing yards per game, 15th in points per game. Huge improvement from last season. They were at the bottom dwellers and bottom feeders in all these categories. They're still 26th in rushing yards per game, but they haven't relied on the running game because they're just letting this young quarterback cook. And he is cooking. And this is my favorite story about him came from Cron.com. Is that he now hosts teammates for a dinner with a private chef damn near every night. Every night that he can, he has a private chef over and has his teammates over for dinner, whoever wants to come. And it's actually something that he's been doing since before his final year at Ohio State. Those are those little things, the intangibles, the immeasurables,
traits of a leader,
leadership skills that you need at the quarterback position. And he seems to have that. He also turned 22 yesterday. So happy B-Day to the guy who's probably going to be Rookie of the Year. At least he's now on pace to. He had Rookie of the Month honors in the NFL for September.
Yep, and they play Atlanta this week with Bijan Robinson. That's kind of the early battle for Offensive Rookie of the Year conversation.
You're right about that.
And, of course, 2 teams going the different directions. Atlanta started 2-0. Houston started 0-2. Now they're both 2-2 because Houston's won back-to-back games. And those numbers for CJ Stroud against defenses like Pittsburgh, Baltimore, the Jacksonville Jaguars, who have a very good defense as well. It's not like they've been playing bad defenses so far.